All right, let's talk about the handheld features of the Alpha 300. The Alpha 300 is a GPS track and train system. Alpha 300 will track up to 20 dogs or handhelds. You have two different ways to see the information on the screen. There's a compass screen, which will show your dog's direction and distance and what the dog is doing, whether it's treed or on point. We then have a map screen, which the map screen will show the trail that your dog has run. You have a couple of different options as far as whether or not that's a topo map or a satellite imagery map. The fastest update rate is 2.5 seconds. And then the Alpha 300 has the new dynamic update, which changes depending on what your dog is doing. On point and treed alerts. And then with the Alpha 300, you have several map options as far as a topo map, bird's eye direct, and then you also have the subscription service option of the Garmin Outdoor Maps Plus. Here's a quick overview of the training functionality of the Alpha 300. The Alpha 300 training collar has customized buttons plus touchscreen controls. It has 18 levels of both continuous and momentary, plus it has the options of vibration and tone. The 300 has the ability to do custom setups for each dog so that you can have stimulation levels based on the dog's needs. You can train up to 20 dogs using the Alpha 300. And that's a quick overview of the Alpha 300 training. The Alpha 300, beyond being a track and train system, is also a full-featured GPS handheld system. You can use it for all sorts of GPS functionality outside of tracking and training. One of the major changes in the Alpha 300 is that the clarity and the brightness of the screen is substantially improved over the Alpha 200. It is a 3.5-inch touchscreen. The handheld is rubberized. The Alpha 300 handheld is waterproof IPX7, which basically means that it is waterproof for a period of time at a certain depth. The Alpha 300 has two antennas. It has your GPS antenna. It also has a removable antenna that is what's used for the communication between the collar and the handheld. Has 16 gigabytes of internal memory, which you can use that for downloading your map images. Also has a micro SD card slot. It's compatible with Garmin's HuntView maps. If you want to, if you prefer just to use HuntView maps, you can actually just load those into the micro SD card slot. The Alpha 300 uses the Garmin backbone system, which makes it compatible with all sorts of different accessories, both for carrying on your person and in your vehicle. The Alpha 300 handheld weighs 9.9 ounces. And that's an overview of the Alpha 300 handheld. All right, the Alpha 300 is also a training collar. The Alpha 300 has the ability to train up to 20 dogs. It is an 18-level continuous and momentary system with both tone and vibration. The 18 levels is a wide choice of stimulation levels that allows you to train the most hard-headed dog all the way down to the most sensitive dog. So a lot of versatility there as far as a training collar goes. With the Alpha 300, you have both button setup and you have touchscreen options with the e-collar functionality. You can customize it where you have multiple dogs. Your individual dog has either set levels or custom levels. You have side buttons on the Alpha 300, which allows you to raise and lower stimulation level without using the touchscreen. Substantially more versatile than the Alpha 100. The Alpha 300 allows you just an enormous amount of customization for the e-collar setup. You can train up to 20 dogs using the Alpha 300. It's just a wide, versatile e-collar setup. The Alpha 300 has the best features of the Tri-Tronics e-collar functionality in it, and it just allows you to customize it so that you can train the dog the way you want to train your dog. The Alpha 300 is a GPS track and train system. Let's talk just a little bit about how this works. The Alpha handheld is a GPS receiver. It picks up information from GPS satellites and it triangulates its location. Your dog is then wearing a collar that is also a GPS receiver, and it triangulates its position. And then the collar sends a radio signal back to the Alpha 300 handheld to tell the handheld, okay, this is where I am. That's called an update. The collar will update the handheld every 2.5 seconds, give the location to the handheld. So that way you can see every 2.5 seconds where your dog is located. That's called an update rate. You can control the update rate through your Garmin Alpha if you want to stretch that out. I prefer to have as much information as possible, so at 2.5 update rates what I set my collars on, but that is going to lower the battery life of your collar. So most people are going to run a 2.5 second update rate. The Alpha 300 also has something new, which is called a dynamic update rate. And what the dynamic update rate does is, depending on what your dog is doing, it controls how often it sends that information. The fastest is still going to be 2.5 seconds, but if for some reason, say your dog is stopped or you have taken the collar off the dog, but it's still turned on and it's not moving, that's going to, the collar is then going to determine, okay, we don't have to send as much information because the collar hasn't moved, and so that's designed to save battery life. So with the new collars that have this dynamic update rate, we actually get a longer battery life than we do from a standard collar. The Alpha 300 will track up to 20 devices, so that's 20 collars or handhelds. You're able to control that from the unit as far as how many collars and handhelds you want to track at one time, but you can look at that many on the unit at one time. The way you view the information as far as what your dog's doing, there's two different options. There's a compass screen and then there's a map screen. You can move back and forth between those two. The compass screen is going to tell you the direction that the dog is from you, and it's going to tell you how far away he is from you. It'll also tell you what your dog is doing, whether or not that's running, or if it's a pointing dog, it will tell you if he's motionless and on point, or if it's a hound that trees, you can set the collar where it will tell you he's running or he's treed. All right, with the Alpha 300, you set it as to whether or not you have a pointing dog or a treeing dog. And then when the dog goes on point, it's going to give you an alert. When the dog trees, it will give you an alert. And what that does is you can set it up a couple of different ways, but there's a sound option and a vibration option, or you can do both. And so that way, when your dog goes on point or is treed, you'll then get an alert on the handheld that tells you that. It'll also show on the compass screen and on the map, it changes the icon of the dog so that you can see whether or not he's running or whether or not he's treed or on point. With the compass screen, you have several different options as far as how you view that information. They have an actual compass screen. It's going to show lines that will point in the direction that your dog is in. And then we also have what's called a Pro View, which a Pro View gives you an option of individual dog with an arrow that points in the direction that your dog is from you, or you can look at multiple dogs on the screen at one time in the Pro View. With the maps, you're going to have a map screen that shows your dogs on the map. It'll show you in the middle as a triangle, and then it's going to show your dogs or your other handhelds, and you'll actually be able to see them on the map. You can also see a trail as far as where that dog has been. And so it'll have a line that will show the direction that your dog has run and where your dog currently is. With the map screen, you have several options. You can, with the unit, you get a topo active map, which the topo map is going to show elevations, it'll show roadways, and it'll show waterways. And it's pretty detailed as far as it shows small roads. It's a good topo map. Then you have the option of what's called Bird's Eye Direct. And Bird's Eye Direct gives you the ability to download Bird's Eye imagery, which Bird's Eye imagery is satellite imagery. You're able to download that via Wi-Fi to your handheld. And so you go in and you pick the areas that you want to see, and then you're able to download satellite imagery to the handheld. So the Topo Active Map and the Bird's Eye Direct, that's included with the purchase of the unit. There's no charge for those. The Alpha 300 also has the ability to use Garmin's Outdoor Maps Plus. That is a yearly subscription service that you buy direct through Garmin, and that gives you the ability to not only download satellite imagery, but it also gives you a lot of different kinds of maps. It's pretty in-depth. You can get plat maps, you can get public land maps. There's a lot of different features on the Outdoor Maps Plus. That's a new feature of the Alpha 300. You cannot do that with the 200 or the 100. The 300 is compatible with the Outdoor Maps Plus.